Well, hello, and you can probably tell that I'm not in my normal place, but this is my normal show. So, welcome to my channel. I don't have an official name for this show. Oh, I do call it Book Talk with Cody C. Engdahl. And so, my name, that's me, Cody C. Engdahl. I am an author of five books now that are available, five novels available uh, on Amazon, plus two nonfiction works, and you can find those right now. In fact, if you like, you can down in the description. There's a link to my author page that has all my books listed there. And while you're down there, please do me a favor: give me a like and a subscription. If you subscribe to the channel, it doesn't cost you anything. It just if you go on Amazon, or I'm sorry, not Amazon, YouTube. If you go on YouTube, it'll tell you that, like, I recently had uploaded a video if you want to watch it, or if you want to catch me live, which I hope you do. Yes, I'm not doing this in the normal place in the normal time. One of the things is I haven't really settled into what this is. I mean, I kind of settled into what this show is going to be. And what this show is going to be is I'm an independent author publishing and marketing books. And I'm just sharing my journey. And I haven't really settled into a time, like I've been doing Sunday nights, but I decided because I had something new to talk about that I would just go ahead and jump on and knock out a live. Now it's Friday afternoon. It's what is it? A little after 2:30 afternoon in Nashville, where I live. It's a beautiful sunny day. Some of you might be at work right now and looking for something to do before the bell goes off. So why not hang out with me and talk about writing and selling books? So I got contacted by a literary agent just the other day, much to my surprise, and had quite an interesting adventure, and learned a lot of things, which that I thought was very interesting, and I thought I would share it with you, beautiful people. Uh, First of all, just to tell you a little bit about me and my writing career so far. When I decided I was going to write my first, well, I've had several false starts in my life in which I started writing. I started writing a novel in the 90s and I never finished it. And then there are other times in my life where I had the mind to start writing. But back in 2018, I think, yeah, 2018 is when I made the decision. Okay, if I don't start writing now, I'm never going to start writing. So I might as well go ahead and just do this. I was in between jobs, job hunting, and I decided, well, if no one's going to give me a job, I'm going to give myself a job. And I started writing and wrote my first book, Rampage on the River. So I had this big question while I was writing it, and that was, do I go the traditional route of looking for an agent, a literary agent, like the one I've been talking to the last couple of days, or do I do independent, or do I publish it independently? And I weighed it out, and I'll tell you, 20, 30 years ago, the only way to go was to get a literary agent. And I'll tell you what that does for you. Uh, the big publishers, Simon and Schuster, Random Penguin House, all those big, I think they call it the big five or the big six. I can't remember. There's a big something. It's not the big 10 or the big 12. Um, they won't even talk to you directly. You have to have an agent in order to deal with them. And it's kind of like going to court. Like, you need a lawyer at some level. Little things, no, but at some level, you need a lawyer to deal with the courts. You need an agent to deal with the big publishers. Now, sometimes um, once you establish like a a relationship with one of the big publishing houses, you can get rid of your agent. And it used to be back in the day that an author would get signed with a big publisher and stay with that publisher for life. Um, that's no longer the case, and I know this because of all the articles I read and all the podcasts I listen to, and I have friends who are very well established authors who have either agents or have had agents and are either with big publishers or had been with big publishers. And there's an interesting thing going on where a lot of guys and gals that had been commercially published, that meaning by a publishing house that is publishing books because they're trying to make a profit, have gone back either completely or partially into the independent market as well. Because the truth is, the difference between independent publishing and commercial publishing is that a commercial publisher, you actually make less per unit sold in royalty, but the reach is bigger. So you make your money in the volume, but because of that, your books have to have mass appeal, broad appeal, and that's why most of the guys and gals that are published by most of the ones that are in historical fiction, which is my genre, that are published by the big publishing houses, are writing, as I say it with me, Romans, Vikings, or Nazis. But the interesting thing is in the independent market, and we are going through an independent revolution right now, not just in publishing, but just in entertainment, period. You can buy the equipment and record music in your basement with professional sound and gear and upload directly to iTunes. And as long as you're able to market your work, you can have a number one single. You can start a YouTube channel like I'm trying to do. By the way, give me a like, please, if you would. Subscribe if you would. I really appreciate it. It really helps out the algorithm. You can start a YouTube channel and compete with the big studios. There's nothing you can't do. It doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. Just because you write a book and publish it does not mean anybody's going to read it. So you still have to do good work, and you still have to do a heck of a lot of marketing. Now, thankfully, I like that. So the decision was, and on the other side, so on the independent side, you don't get the reach, you don't get that validation of having like a big publisher put their brand on your book. You don't get a whole lot of brick and mortar distribution. You don't get all their marketing, but you make a lot more. Your royalties much higher, and we're going to get into this because when I went through this whole thing, I contacted one of my friends who is a commercially published, very well established, somewhat famous in the genre author. And I'm not going to name names or anything like that, just because I don't know if he did me a really great favor by spending time with me. We Zoomed together, and it was the first time we've actually talked. We've been friends on social media, and it's one of those people that is way above me, and I didn't want to bother him with favors or asking this or that, but it was time because I had a literary agent who was contacting me and that was interested in my work. And I wanted to know what to expect out of this. So going back to that decision is that I decided very early on that the two routes I could have gone was I could have wrote my first book, write a query letter, and send it to multiple agents, trying to find an agent who would look at me, look at my first work, and say, "Yeah, I think I can sell this." And then once that, or they would reject it, or they'd say, "Hey, this needs some more work before I can try to sell it," or or the publishers aren't looking for this. For example, my first book is American Civil War. They might say, "Yeah, come back to me once you got something that say it with me." Romans, Vikings, or Nazis. I mean, American Civil War. I think that would slip through because it does have its own it does have its own uh, uh, audience. But then once I find an agent who's willing to take me on, then that agent takes my work and then they go to all the publishing houses and tries to sell the book to a publishing house. So what would happen is the book has to get sold twice. I have to sell it to an agent who I sign a contract with to deal with exclusively, and then that agent goes and does the work of try to get me a book deal. And like a real estate agent, they're going to try to get me, especially when it's selling, they're going to try to get me the best deal because they get a commission, they get a percentage off the money, off the royalty, and that's why you make a lot less royalty when you go through an agent and a publishing house because everybody gets a slice of the pie. Um, where if you're independent, you get all of that. So the I have so let's say I did that. So I would have to put out tons of letters, get tons of rejections, tons of advice to, hey, you should do this or you should do that, or come back, or changes, blah, blah, blah. Then I would have to wait for that agent to get it sold into a publisher. Then I've heard people say, "Hey, I'm so excited! I'm finally getting published by a big publishing house." Oh, great! When's your books come out? They're going to put it out next year. So sometimes you have to wait an entire year for it to even come out. Now they will give you an advance sometimes, but that advance is very small. I've heard it's anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000 if you even get it. And remember, this isn't an advance. So what it is, it's that once your book is out and selling, you start making a royalty off of each one you sell. So that advance is an advance on the money that they are expecting you to make. And if you don't make any more money than that advance, there's no more money coming to you. And not only that, but they own the rights to your book. And it's possible that they could bury it. They could sit on it. They could decide not to publish it anymore. And you can't take it somewhere else and publish it. You can't publish it yourself independently. You can't sell it to another publisher. So it is, I'm not saying it's a bad decision to do that. Certainly 20, 30 years ago, that was the only way to do it. It's a different world we live in today. Amazon KDP has really revolutionized how, and it's really opened the doors because, like, if you think about it, my latest book is an Austro-Prussian war book. There's no one else. There's no other books. I did a search. There are no other novels right now that deal with that war, other than one that was written in 1867 by Alexander Dumas, a year after the war happened. You might find some stuff about the Franco-Prussian War, but even that is very rare. Now, why? Because there's not a big demand for it. But as an independent, you can find that little market, and because you make a higher royalty, you make the entire 70% of which is the royalty that you don't have to split it with anybody. You can make more money selling to less people as an independent than you can with a commercial publisher. Now, that's not always the case. Of course, if you go with a commercial publisher and you happen to knock it out of the park and have a bestseller, well, yeah, you'll make tons of money, and they'll make tons of money, and they'll want to keep you around and put you on contract to write another book. So I'm not saying that's a bad way. I'm not saying that's a bad way to go, but I also know a lot of very well established writers who are published through publishers who are now also doing stuff on the side, either returning completely to independent publishing or are getting publishers on the side. So anyway, let's talk about this story. Well, I'll finish. I'll do a little bit more of the history with me. So my plan was, I decided I didn't want to wait for to find an agent, and then the agent to find a publisher, and then the publisher wanting to sit on it for a year. I wanted to get my stuff out immediately. And I also enjoy doing marketing. In fact, I enjoy marketing as much as I enjoy writing the books. And I got some news on that end too, by the way, that we'll get into. So I decided, well, I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait, and I don't want to. I don't want to. I never could ask a girl on a date because I hated rejection. The same thing with trying to sell my book. So I decided I'm just going to go ahead and independent publish, and then what I'm going to do is make so much noise. My delusion was, and this is a delusion because I've been disabused of this delusion a long time ago, is I thought maybe if I wrote really great stuff and started building a readership on my own, that the agents and the publishing houses would come knocking on my door. It doesn't work that way. It's rare, but it's like winning the lottery. Uh, the There are so many people who are submitting their works to agents and publishing houses that they're not going and looking through to see who's out there in the independents. It does happen, and it kind of did with me. But that was kind of like the idea that I would have this Cinderella thing in which I, like, within a couple books, they would someone would find me and they're like, "Hey, we think you're great. Here's $1 million. We're gonna publish all your books now." So that was the decision I made, and I've been listening to a lot of different podcasts about writing and marketing and things like that. I've been following a lot of writers on social medias. I have friends that are just starting to write and publish. I have friends who, like I say, their books are in the bookstore, and they're published through big publishers, and they're famous within the literary world in their genre. And I and listening to the things I'm hearing people say and reading articles is that I really feel like it would be best. It's funny because I made this decision. I mean, not maybe came to not a decision, but came to a conclusion pretty much the day before a literary agent reached out to me that I don't I don't really have the fantasy anymore of like having a big publishing house publish me. I I I feel like I can do it all myself. The only thing that I feel like they can give me that I can't, I mean, what I wanted in the very beginning was I wanted to be on Amazon. Okay, I'm there. I wanted worldwide distribution. I'm there. There are some months where I mean, I'll be honest with you, I make most of my money in the US and the UK, but I do sell books in other countries too. I've sold books in Japan and India, in South America. So a couple other places, other countries, and I think I've sold a few books in Germany and Italy, but I don't sell a lot in those places, but I do sell. So the only thing that I'm missing right now is uh, bookstore distribution. And I have friends who are with big publishers who may have that in the UK, but they're not in bookstores here in the United States, which is frustrating for them. The other thing is I found out that this is not an exaggeration. That Amazon has about 90% of the market when it comes to book sales. It's amazing. Amazon sells more books than any other company in the world. And there are some people who talk about going wide, in which they, instead of going exclusive with Amazon, and when you're exclusive with Amazon, you get additional things like you're on Kindle Unlimited, which I will tell you about a third of my income comes from Kindle Unlimited. So it's definitely right there is worth the price of admission. And they do things like I have followers. Please follow me on Amazon if you haven't already. Follow my author profile. When I have new releases or a new pre-order, they'll send out emails. There, I can do 90 cent promotions for 7 days, or I can do 99 pence, which is almost a pound in the UK as well. There's just all sorts of really great benefits. And the little tiny bit of the market that's outside of Amazon is not worth it to me to go wide. For some people, it is. Not only that, but I get author copies. So Amazon will sell me a box of books at cost with no markup at all. And then I'm free to sell them if I want to put them in bookstores, which I do. There's some local bookstores here in Middle Tennessee that carry my books that I personally stock. I realized doing that is more work than it's worth. So I really, other than the want people who like call me and say, hey, we want more of your books, sure, I'm always going to, if someone wants to carry my books, I'm going to help. I'm going to bring them out to them. But I don't feel like I can do the volume that I need to do by stocking local bookstores. So I don't really make that a focus. Lloyd is here, and Lloyd says, not to get off subject, but have you thought about putting together your own website? I have, and I decided not to. And the reason why, and I know a lot of people do, and I could be wrong, but my reason why I don't have a website is because I don't want to put any barriers between people and buying my book. And so right now, my books are either they can get them directly from me when I'm at an event, like next weekend, I'm going to be at an event, or they can go to Amazon. So I don't want people coming to my website. I want them going to Amazon. So because of that, I've decided not to have an intermediary website in between. Now, there are some authors that are selling through multiple things, and it makes sense for them. For me, it just doesn't. I just feel like there's an old, I'm from Detroit where we make cars, and there's an old engineering thing. The more moving parts, the more things can go wrong. So I direct everybody to Amazon. That's what I do. And then there's a few people, I mean, I sell books really three ways, either on Amazon, which is my preferred one, because then I don't handle taxes. I don't handle anything. Amazon sells it, they ship it or deliver it. And I get a monthly royalty check. The other way I sell books is that I get boxes of them, and I go and I either stock local stores, which, like I said, I don't really like. I used to be at Parnassus, and they still may have. And you can walk into Parnassus right now and order my book. You can order my book from any bookstore that is on the whatever system that bookstores order, because I'm on expanded distribution. So if you want to go to Parnassus and order a book through there because you want to support local bookstores, you can do that. I had books on the shelf there, and I could, if I wanted to, but I felt like the hoops that Parnassus wants you to jump through. And, and I had to do there was a couple times where they emailed me and they're like, hey, we need more books. And I brought it to them. But after my second book, I decided, I really don't, it's not worth it for me to do that. So I either sell books on Amazon in person, or sometimes people who live far away want a signed book from me. And so what I'll do is, so they basically, I sell it to them for the same cost that they would get it from Amazon, but I charge them $3 for shipping and handling. And I actually, that's at a loss. I think the last time I sent a book to someone, it was over $4 to sell one book. But that's okay, because I still make the profit margin when I sell a book directly to someone is much farther than when I sell them to bookstores, or if I sell them to Amazon. So I don't want to really get deep involved in direct book sales, because it's just more work than I want to do. I don't want to be a bookseller. I want to write. So most of my effort is selling books internationally through Amazon. So anyway, the only thing that I felt like a literary agent could do for me is to put me in bookstores. And so I guess my feeling is that there are people who, I think it's Brandon Sanderson just raised $32 million independently publishing a book. He raised it on Kickstarter. Unbelievable. You can do that. And he doesn't have to share that with an agent. He doesn't have to share that with a publisher. And all the publisher does is then they go to a third-party printing house and they pay for the printer run. Well, you can do that yourself. Well, Amazon does it for you. That's part of the deal with Amazon, is they have their own printing. So there really is no reason to be giving money to an agent or be giving money to a publisher house unless they truly can take you to the next level. And so I came to that decision the night before, and I was driving back from Washington or Maryland. I spent a week in North Bethesda, Maryland, which is a subdivision of. It's just right outside of Washington D.C. My hotel was 12 miles from the White House, and I did a lot of thinking. It was a 12-hour drive, and I did a lot of thinking. I thought, I really, if I can do it all independent, I would like to stay independent. Um, I even thought of being my own publishing house in which I would publish other authors. I don't think I want to be that big. I just want to be big enough to publish me. And maybe someday I might publish other people. But right now, Engdahl House has one author. That's me. And Engdahl House is basically a micro publisher, and that's basically what I am. I'm an author, a book marketer, and a micro publisher. So anyway, I got home and I was checking my all my social media, and I got a message on LinkedIn. And now I get a lot of, if you're an author, and especially independent, you probably get a lot of come-ons of, because the independent writing community is full of dreamers, and it's full of people who are desperate to make it big. And so there's a lot of sharks. There's a lot of wolves out there feeding amongst the sheep here. And so I get all sorts of come-ons of people who are going to do my marketing for me. They're going to do this. People want to do voiceovers for me for Audible books. People want to do my covers, all that kind of stuff. And like I said, fortunately for me, I actually really enjoy the marketing side of it, and I might actually, I was little preview of what we're going to talk about a little later. I was interviewed today for a job, doing for an ad agency, doing paid paid advertising for authors for books. We'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, I'm going to tell you this story about the agent and my author friend. I'm going to leave names out. First of all, to protect the innocent, and they're truly innocent. Everybody that was involved in this were very kind and good people, and acting good actors. They with the best intentions, and but I just don't. If you want to ask me directly, we can talk off camera, and I can tell you more. But I don't know if either of these people care for me to start publicly talking about private information. Mike Fox says, where did it go? Keep up the good job, brother. Nice to see you, bro. Yeah, nice to see you too, Mike. Nice to see you too. So I got a, I'm gonna look at this real quick. I got I can't see the chat for a minute. I got a message on LinkedIn, and it says from this agent. And she says, "Dear Cody, we have an established literary agency based in New York for over 20 years. If you're an author looking for an agent, I would love to hear from you. Best wishes," and then her name. And I was like, whoa. And then I clicked on her LinkedIn profile, and sure enough, she's the owner of a literary agency in New York City, and they have a impressive page, and they have a list of their clients, of a very impressive list of authors on there, and authors that she's gotten deals with Simon and Schuster and Random House, and I mean, she's the real deal. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like the thing that I thought was going to happen in the beginning, and then came to the conclusion that it didn't really happen that way, was happening. I was like, holy shit. As soon as I decided that I really don't want to go that route, the route suddenly opened up for me. So, so I thought, okay. So the first thing I did is I wrote back to her, and I said, and I wanted to be open, but not too eager. I just wanted to be honest, and I didn't want to play coy or anything like that, or too cool for school. So I said, "Hi, person's name. As odd as it sounds, I don't know if I am," meaning if I'm looking for a literary agent. "I don't know if I am, but I'm certainly open to one. I've been independently published. No, I've independently published my first 5 novels, mostly because I didn't know how to even start looking. I'm happy to talk if it's worth your time. My phone number is blah, 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 and my email is blah, blah, blah. Thanks for reaching out to me, Cody. And so then I was like, you know, I have a friend who I have several friends that, like I said, they are very well established authors that are published through big publishing houses with agents and all that stuff like that. And one of them is someone that I've always felt like if I needed to ask something, I could, but I didn't want to abuse that beforehand. I didn't want to bother them. I didn't want to be tugging on somebody's coattail, Mister. Hey, Mister, play it. I don't want to play that game with people. But I did think that if something like this ever happened, that maybe he would be someone I could talk to, that I could ask, like, what should I be expecting going into this? And so I reached out to him through like a DM direct message on Twitter and said, "Hey, I have been approached by an agent, namely this person here," where I gave him her name of this agency here, which I gave him the name of the agency. And if you have the time, if you're able to talk to me, I'd like your advice about what I should expect and what my, um, what should I look for? Because I've never actually dealt with an agent, or what their, you know, what the conditions of any kind of contract, what's fair, what's not fair, those kind of things. And, just needed to talk to someone who's been through it, who's knowledgeable in those things um, and I mean, this guy is great. And like I said, the only reason I'm not saying his name is because I don't know if he wants me to talk about this publicly. Um, but he got back to me very quickly, and he said, I said, "Hi, Cody. Perhaps it would be better if we have a chat. Would you be free sometime tomorrow? We could do a quick Zoom. If you can't chat before you need to speak to her, I can jot down some thoughts tomorrow." And I'm like, wow. I mean, what a great guy. And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. If you can, let's do a Zoom." So he got back to me and said, "Let's do a Zoom." Uh, at this time, he's in the UK. I'm here in the United States. And he goes, "In the meantime, here is a thread you might want to look at." So there was a thread. It's like some kind of bulletin. What do you call those groups where they have threads where people have different topics and you can talk on them. And there was a lot of people talking about her, and there was mixed results. First of all, no one who has a good experience goes on line and raves about it. Usually they complain. So there were people on there. First of all, she's a real deal, legit. It's like Reddit, Lloyd. It's like Reddit. It's a, what do you call those? Forum. It's a forum, but it's specific to authors, I guess, and of all rankings, from super high to people just getting started. And there were some people in that thread. It goes all the way to 2006. So she's been working since 2006. So at least since 2006. So I mean, it tells me that she's been in the business for a very long time. And there were some people in there like, yeah, she's great. She's very nice. She accepted my thing and she got me my first deal. So there are people had successful. The complaint that some people were saying was, first of all, I think they were people that they went to her, she didn't come to them, that she got their manuscript. She asked for a couple chapters. They sent her that. Then she asked for the rest of the book. They sent her that. And then she said, it's great. You're doing a great job. We don't think it's ready for publication. You really should take this to a professional editor. And if you don't, not just an editor who's going to fix typos, but what they call a developmental editor who's going to say, okay, you need to develop this character more. You should take this part out. Someone who's going to really get their hands in there and help you with the creative. And she said, if you get it professionally edited, bring it back to us. If you have one in mind, great. If you need one, we also provide that service. So some people were accusing her of running a scam in which she was just using her literary agency as a way to backdoor get clients for her editing services. I don't think that's true, and neither did my friend who's the author. Although he did raise it did raise an eyebrow from him. And I said to him, I go, when we got on the Zoom call, I said, first of all, this is the first time I ever got to talk to him. And I was a little, starstruck because this, like I said, this is a very well-known in the genre, famous in the genre author. And I said, I go, I've been wanting to have this talk with you a long time because even if this is nothing, I want to know in case this comes up again. So we had a really great talk. He said, well, probably is nothing, but it is good for you to know. And what the conclusion we both kind of came up with is that she's casting a wide net. So she's looking at, because what struck me was that I don't know if she had done a whole lot of research of me. I think what she was doing was probably got her assistant say, go find me 100 independent authors that look like they're up and comers, and we'll send them all, we'll send them all a message on LinkedIn. And of those, we'll start screening them and see if we can find something that we can sell to people. So anyway, just as I was about to do my Zoom call, she got back to me. And this was the next day. I think she does her correspondence every day at 10:30 because all her messages come around 10:30. So the next day she got back to me and she said, thanks for your response, Cody. I would like to learn more about your work first. Do you have any new unpublished manuscripts? I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Best wishes, then her name. So as she was sending that to me, I was talking to my friend on Zoom, and here are some of the things. I took some notes of what he told me. It was very insightful. Once again, I'm gonna not mention who he is, but here are the things that he said. If I can get this to come up here. Okay, this is very interesting. I mean, there's nothing bad, but I just, he didn't say. I just don't feel right about kiss and tell. So let me move this to the side here so I can close this down. Sorry, I'm struggling with my computer. All right. So what he told me was that in his story, kind of the same in which he wrote his first book, looked for an agent, couldn't find one, published it independently. I think he wrote a second one and published that independently. And then as he was writing his third one, found an agent who got him to a publisher, and that agent not only did the publisher publish the third book, but they also got the rights to the first two books. And basically he had to pull those off of Amazon so that they could republish it. And the one thing that he said to me, which I thought was really interesting, he said, and he's obviously done very well since, so don't feel sorry for him. But he said initially when they first republished his book, he was all of a sudden making less money than when they were under him independently published. And the reason being is that, so Amazon, as long as you're, this is the Kindle, but I think I can't remember the rate for the print books, but the Kindle books, as long as you're selling for over $3, for $2.99 or higher, you get 70% of your royalty is 70%. So, um, so you get like, so like if my book is sells for 2.99, like Rampage on the River, my cheapest novel, I get 70% of that 2.99, which comes out to be a little over $2, I think, and then the rest goes to Amazon. With the print books, I think I get 60% of the royalty, or six. My royalty is at 60%. That's after cost. So like Rampage on the River is like think like $4.67 to print. So whatever the remainder is after that, I get 60% of the $10 that sells for. That comes out to be a little over $2 as well. So I roughly make about $2 per book I sell. I make more money on the bigger books like Blood for Blood. It sells for $3.99. I make, so obviously everything goes up higher. But but he told me that that basically with the publishers, it's that 70% gets split up. So like your agent gets like usually about 15% of that 70%, and like you get like 25% of the 70% up to like 10,000, the first $10,000. And then after that, you get 50% of that. But once the book gets past $10,000 in royalties, that initial wave, and you'll learn this if you're just new to this, your sales are like this, and then you publish a new book and they go up, and they're up for a minute and then they come back down again, but maybe they're a little higher than they were before. Then you publish another book. So every time you publish a new book, there's a spike in your sales, and a spike in your royalties that last for a few months. And but what's nice is then when it comes back down to the doldrums, that those doldrums are higher than what they were before. Uh, and and so once you kind of get over that hump, then your royalty goes up, but you're not selling as many. Um, and then he said for the print ones, he gets like 12.5 to 15%, I think, is of the royalty. But that's if they even get the print books into the stores. Now, if you're a well-known famous author, your name sells a lot of books, so you're going to make that money. You're going to make a lot of money, more than an independent who no one knows. Um, but the difference is that it's volume. So we with your with a when you're with a publisher who you're getting a smaller slice of the pie, but your potential to sell more because you got a big publisher behind you that's putting it. Does that make any sense? So you make more money per book as an independent, but you may not have the name yet, but you can build that name. And you can build your name and your readership, which is what which is what I'm doing. The one thing he said, he told me, he said, if you remember anything from this conversation, the most important thing is something that he didn't know, is that, and that he wished he would have known, is that you don't necessarily have to sell the rights to your book. You can license it. And the difference is when you sell the rights, they own the rights. And I think his initial agent that got him the deal gets their 15% of all that book makes through that deal for perpetuity, even perhaps after that agent dies and it gets passed on to their heirs or whatever. That's what happens when you sell the rights to your book to a publisher through an agent. The agent forever gets a slice, the publisher gets a slice. And if your publisher decides that it's no longer economically feasible to keep publishing your book and keep putting it out there, they can stop publishing it, and you don't own the rights. So you can't go somewhere else and publish it. They own that from now. You can write new books, but you can't make money off those books more. So if you license it, basically those deals look like you can say, let's say, for example, the deal that I presented to this agent would be like licensing my series, and we could say, okay, Simon and Schuster, we're going to license to you the Long Sentry, which is my series called, which is Rampage on the River, Perils Peril, all that stuff like that for 10 years. They're dealers that you can do whatever you want. At the end of 10 years, you have the option to continue it as long as you are still putting it out there and making sales. Or if you decide not to, then the rights, because they are only licensed to you, not sold, the rights will revert back to me. And so I think that's would be a deal that I'd want to do. Um, he also told me a few other things about like publishing in other languages too, which I'd be interested. I'm really interested in publishing in German. Um, he also told me that at this point, he does he does very well. This is a very well known. So this is not a bad deal for him at all. But at this point, he doesn't get advances. He just gets royalties, which it's the only difference between getting advances and not getting advances is that when you get the money, advance is advance on royalty. So it's not like you get an advance, you get a chunk of money, and you get royalties. It's that chunk of money. Uh, you don't start getting royalties until you've earned back that advance on your royalties. So for him now, it's just they publish the book, and when the royalties start coming in, he starts getting checks, and that's how it works. So this was really helpful for me to understand, and I realized, okay, so going back to the agent, I thought, okay, I will. I'm just going to give it to her straight and see what she thinks and what she wants to do, and just go along that line. So I wrote her back and I said, "Hi, Linda. I just because if you remember, she was asking me um, if I have any new unpublished manuscripts, and I said, "Hi, Linda. I just published my." I just said her name. I'm sorry. Well, I won't say her last name. Hi, person who's the agent. I just published my fifth novel, The Prussian Prince, February 3rd. It's a Civil War. It's a story of a Civil War veteran who comes home to find his German wife has returned to her family in Berlin to have the child he didn't know she was carrying. He's going. He goes to be reunited with her, but gets dragged into the Austro-Prussian War. Here it is on Amazon. I gave her a link, and then I wrote, "I'm going to start writing book 6 soon. If someone is interested in publishing it with me." The working title is The French Fiasco, in which the character gets in trouble and has to flee the Prussian army as they march to Paris. The books are part of a series called The Long Sentry. The first three are a trilogy that takes place in the American Civil War. It's about friends who are separated at the beginning of the war and end up on opposite sides. Through the war, their stories intertwine as they face challenges of honor, morality, friendship, and courage. Here are the links to those books. The fourth book is a prequel to the trilogy. It's about the parents of the main character. It tells the story of how they meet, fall in love, and run away with each other, and ultimately end up in the Mexican American War. Here's the link. The series has done well enough so far, but I think there's more potential for a publisher to take it to the next level. So far, all my sales have been on Amazon and from the trunk of my car. I think there'd be a lot of growth potential getting it into brick and mortar and translate it as well. I'd be happy to partner up with an agency and a publisher. I'm a very motivated and active marketer. I know I can make it work. Let me know what you think. And once again, thanks for taking interest in me, your friend Cody. Oh, that's my. Hang on one second. I work at home, and to keep myself honest, I set timers to make sure I work for like an hour and a half, and then I take a break. I'm not going anywhere. I got to turn off my phone. when you work, when you're self-employed, like an author, it's really easy to do to to not not be productive. So I learned this trick. I think it's a Japanese. I read it in a Japanese novel, but I've seen it other places where you set work cycles. So you set up. Typically, I do 90 minutes. So it's a 90-minute work cycle, 20-minute break, 90-minute work cycle, maybe lunch, then 90-minute work cycle, 20-minute break. And we do that as long as possible. Sometimes if it's real intense work, I might do like 45 minutes with a 10-minute break, and I've gone even as short as 25 minutes, depending on what I'm working on. So I figured, okay, that's a fair response that I sent to her. So then she got back to me the next day, and she said, "Thank you for your response, Cody. We do not work with books that have already been published, and it's hard to start with a later book in a series for commercial publishers. If you have any new series that you plan to write, I would be happy to learn more. Best wishes, the person whose name I've already slipped out." I'm terrible at secrets. So I wrote back, "I figured as much. Thank you for your kindness and spending so much time with me. I'll be sure to contact you if I do a new series." Now, you might be wondering, well, why don't you write a new book, start a new series, and because you got a literary agent who wants to work with you. Yeah, if I can see that argument. The thing is that I feel like she, just like my friend thought too, I don't feel like she necessarily came to me because I'm Cody C. Engdahl and I have a great series, and she wants to be the one to get to me first before another agent, and to take me to the next level. I think she's just fishing for new authors, and I look like a good potential. So I have another friend who just got signed by a publisher, and he had been an independent, and they came to him, and he's got like two series, and they came to him and they said, we would like you to write a new series for us. And he said, well, what would you like? And they said, well, what would you like? And he came up with an idea, and they said, let's do it. And so he's writing a trilogy for this publisher. I think if it was something like that, if someone said, "Hey, we love your stuff. We would like you to write, come up with a new series and write it for us, and we're gonna sign a contract for do." Yeah, sure, let's do it. I'll put the Long Century off for now. But this is more like she's just fishing for a new author, and I think I'm one of many. So I don't feel like it's worth it to me to jump ship on what I'm already doing. And like I said, I'd rather stay independent and find my success there. Which, by the way, I'm not doing bad. Like it is growing with every single book, and to me, this is just an indication that now they're beginning to come to me, and this is just the first one, and maybe it's the last one, who knows. But I am getting noticed as an author. So that is the saga with that. And uh and I what did I learn? I mean, I learned a lot about what, if I do go with an agent, what I should expect. Agent usually takes about 15% uh, of of the royalty, and what to expect out of a book deal with with a big publisher and all that kind of stuff, and what how the royalties work and things like that. And like I said, if someone came to me and it really felt like they could take me to the next level, I would do it. But I'm not going to do it just so I can feel some kind of validation, like, oh my God, I got an agent and I got a book deal with a publisher. I It's not going to really do much more than what I'm already doing for myself. So until that happens, and I'm happy to do it. Like if that comes, and it's a good deal, not just for me, but for them. I mean, I learned this when I was trying to get my MBA, arm's length agreement, in which I benefit, the agent benefits, and the publisher. Let's do it. But until then, I'm gonna keep on going the route I'm going, which I really enjoy because I not only there's a lot of writers who just want to write and they don't want to have to deal with all the marketing. I love the marketing. Um, so I feel like I got both sides of the personality, that I can write the books and I can do the marketing. Um, Another thing that happened is I had an interview today. So, and I'll tell you who it's with. It's with Brian Cohen's agency, and he is a book marketing coach. He's the one who does the 5 day author ad challenge, which I think everybody should do. It's free. The only thing is that they're going to try to upsell you to do their year round author ad school, which I think is probably worthwhile. I just, it's time and money for me right now that I haven't done it. But I do the author ad challenge every 90 days, and you can do it as many times as you want. They're like, yeah, you can keep coming as long as you want, and you never have to give us a penny. We'd love, we'd love to help you. And I've benefited greatly from it. When I the first time I did it and learned how to do Amazon ads correctly, so that I don't lose money, I make money. I My royalties doubled. Um, my average monthly royalty doubled from doing that, and I've been doing it every single time because it changes constantly. I'm not hugely, but enough that you want to keep your finger on the pulse. Now I run ads on Amazon in the U.S., UK, and Germany, and I also run ads in on Facebook or Meta, because it's Facebook and Instagram. So I thought I had a tissue started, but I'll start a new one. I know I'm crying over here. Um, and and anyway, he has a lot of these free webinars, sometimes weekly. And once again, those are always kind of like lead losses, where he's trying to get people into different courses. He's got different levels of coaching, and he's got an ad agency that's only for authors who are making uh, $6,000 and more a month in ad revenue and in royalties. And in one of the emails that he sent out to everybody who is on his email list, hey, we're looking to hire a an account manager for this agency, in which you would basically be creating Amazon ads for one of these big, sick, big, well-to-do authors. And of course, that came just as I was going to Maryland for my training for this other job I have. And the jobs I take, they're all short contract, temporary things, and part time. So I'm always kind of staggering them and stacking them and things like that. And this job was 12 to 15 hours once they train you. The one that the Brian Cohen agency thing. Um, but you could build up from that if you want to take on more clients. So I thought, this is something I'd really like to do, because I don't know if you know about this, but I grew up in an ad agency. My mother owned an ad agency when I was a child. I was in all sorts of TV commercials. Later on, after I got out of college, I became a partner in that agency, where I produced local TV commercials in Detroit. I eventually got tired of everybody thinking that I was working for my mom. Um, so I decided to go on my own, and ended up crawling back into television and news, and then became a reporter here in Nashville until I left and started writing books. So I have a background in ad agencies and all that. But not only that, but I had thought, like, I would love, outside of my writing career, to do paid advertising for other people. That is like managing people's Amazon ads and Facebook ads and things like that. I feel like I have a good knack for it. I like that. I like the analytics. I like it. It's like playing slot machines. And so, but that email came like just before I was leaving for Washington. So Washington, Maryland, yeah. And so I blew it off. Came back a week later, and I saw that it was still active. That they were still, taking uh, applications all the way to like March 15th. So I clicked on it, and I did I had to fill out like just a little questionnaire, and then they said, we'd like to do like a real quick 15-minute screener interview with you. And so I was able to like click on a thing and pick a day, which was today. And I had an interview with a young lady that works for them. Brian. I'll probably never even meet him, but it's someone that works for him, and I'm a big fan of Brian Cohen's. I listen to his podcast and stuff like that. And anyway, yeah, that went really well. She told me that they had a lot of applicants, but one of the first things she said is she's like, "Yeah, your name has been pretty well known amongst us for a while now." So I'm like, "Wow, okay, great." So I'm going to find out next week if I'm. She said, she goes, whether you get it or not, we decide to go with the next level with you or not, we'll let you know next week. I said that's fine. And honestly, I've learned a new thing of keeping not high expectations, low expectations, just neutral expectations. So I mean, this is not make or break. I got plenty of work. And there'll be more of the studies that I'm like the one I'm working on now, but this would be great. And like I said, it's only 12 to 15 hours. It's not even the money. It's just that I think that first of all, they'll train me and I'll be up to date with how to really, really make people money with their books on Amazon, doing ads and possibly Meta too. And then being able to apply that knowledge to my own books. And not only that, but having clients that are, high level, high paid authors and learning a little bit from that too. So I think it would just be absolutely wonderful for me. So I'm really working on that. Oh, I want to tell you something else. There's the story about the agent. There's a little cherry on the top, and I don't want to announce this because I've had things like this happen before, but I don't announce it until it actually happens because if it doesn't happen, then I look like an idiot. But that author that I talked to that coached me, very kind. This person has been very kind to me even when I just wrote my first book. And this is like a big author, a very well known name in the genre. A couple hours later, he sent me a message and he said, "Would you be interested in coming onto our podcast?" He's got a podcast that they talk about books and book writing. And I said, "I would climb to the moon to be on this podcast." So we booked a date that I'm going to be interviewed on his podcast, probably in May, and then it'll come out after that. So I'm not going to say it until it happens, but when it does, I will talk about it quite openly, and I will post on it and everything. So look for that coming soon. And if I get this job with the ad agency, I'll let you know as well. I think that'd be just great. And maybe I could turn that into, what they're telling me is, expect after training, expect 12 to 15 hours a week, but that can expand if you're doing well and you want to expand your position and take on more clients. So that'd be great. I could see myself, usually with the writing, you can't write 8 hours. I mean, I guess some people do, but I like to get up about 5 a.m. and spend a few hours writing and then do everything else. I do all my like marketing stuff in the afternoon. So I could make that work. I was invited to come back on Books 101 with, what's his name? Daniel Lucas. I told him that I would he said, "Can you do it Saturday morning at 9 a.m.?" I'm like, "That is reserved for sleeping in with my girlfriend, so Sunday." But I told him I could do it Saturday afternoon, or anytime afternoon on Sunday, or anytime during the week up until Friday. Friday, I'm going to Memphis. So, but he hasn't gotten back to me, and that's tomorrow when he wanted to do it. So I don't know what's going on with that. But if I'm on Books 101, he's because he wants to talk about the new book, I will post that. Um, Other things. Another podcast that I can talk about that I am on is called American Civil War and UK History with Darren Rawlings, who goes by Daz. He asked me to provide fiddle music to open and close the show. So I gave him. I recorded some Civil War tunes, and I think the first episode that he's using that on. Anytime they're doing like a feature on a certain historical character, they're using the music. So I'm that's me on the fiddle that you hear when you listen to that podcast. And what else? Oh yeah, uh, next weekend I am going to be in South Haven, Mississippi, which is just south of Memphis, and it's the what is it? The American. I'm sorry, it's the Civil War and um, military history show, and they have been giving me a table now for several years. And this year they've invited me to be one of the speakers, so I'm doing my talk, the American Civil War through fiddle tunes with them on Saturday. So that's if you want more information, I'll probably post something about it. Probably Monday morning, so people know. But if you're in the Memphis area, come down and see me. And it's a great show. And it's a Civil War show. Basically, what it is like kind of like there's tables, and people are selling relics and things like that. And I'll be there selling my books, and I'll be playing the fiddle at my table, but I'll also be uh, doing the talk. Um, right now, let's do this. I'm going to share my screen. Right now, I am running a deal on Rampage on the River, which is the make sure, yeah, you can see it. Okay, great. Rampage on the River is only 99 cents for 7 days. On It doesn't show up here because I've already bought a copy, so it doesn't show me. But it's the Kindle version of it's 99 cents all the way through. Until next Friday, I think. And then if you're in the UK, it'll be 99 pence for a week. One of the reasons why I do this is so that uh, uh, it's a series starter. So the hope is that people will buy buy that for 99 cents and then come back and buy all the other ones. And I don't run ads all the time uh, on Meta, but I run them usually when I do a anything like this. And I want to show you the ad if I can find one because this is really funny. Well, yeah, let's do this. Go to Facebook. Let me pull it up first. Make sure there's anything embarrassing that I don't want anybody to see. I mean, that there's too much to hide anyway. Okay, there we go. And let's see, is that it right there? Okay. Okay. So I'm running that for 99 cents, and just to show you what the ad looks like. Um, I've tried something new that I think is really interesting. So on Meta ads, the Amazon ads will kind of sip the money at a trickle, but Meta will spend the money fast, and you can make money fast as well, but you can lose money fast as well. So you got to be very careful what you do on Meta and know what you're doing before you start going crazy. This is the ad right here. I mean, you can tell it's an ad because it says sponsored. And every time somebody clicks on it, it costs me money. So don't go clicking on that and spending all my money. And a couple things I did that I thought were interesting was before, what I really liked it is you could really dial in your audience. You could set parameters. So um, I could say which age groups I wanted to do. I do 18 to 65 plus. Most of my readers are older, usually older men, but I do get women and I do get young people too. Uh, and then you could select like people who are interested in historical fiction, people who are interested in Bernard Cornwell, who's a very famous author in historical fiction. And no, that's not who I was talking to. That'd be great. He's like the Stephen King of historical fiction, and people interested in the Civil War, and so you could really focus your audience, so you're not wasting money for your ad being shown to people that will never like never be interested. But that was before AI, and now they you can still do that, or you can do what's called Advantage Plus targeting, where you remove all the parameters, all those things that I put in there, and you just say you let AI figure out who's gonna click on your ad, and the AI will look at the data of people who have interacted with your ads before. And I've been running this ad for over a year now, uh, off and on. So it has all that data to look at, and it um, and it goes out and finds the clicks. So I decided to do that. I stripped all the parameters, all the targeting stuff I put in there, and it's just wide open. Men, women from 18 to 65 plus, and go find it. And so far today, it's done pretty well. I've already made at least one sale from it, and I'll probably get more. They don't always show up right away, but I am getting clicks. And one of the things I did was, if you look at here, there's like different boxes you can put things, and I forgot what this box is, but it's a place where one of the people who was doing a webinar for Brian Cohen said this is a good place to take quotes from your reviews. So this is Lloyd. If you're still here, this is your quote here. Um, Fast paced, full of excitement and entertaining. You got to click. I'm not going to click on it because it's going to cost me money. But one of the things I wanted to do with this, I just turned it on today, and the Amazon ad, or the Facebook ad is going to run through Sunday. And then if it's making money, then I'll extend it during the week. If it's not making money, I'll let it stop, and then I'll run ads on Facebook in the UK next weekend, when I'm at 99 pence. But I had a recent review. Let's see if I'll pull that up now. I had a recent review that on that book in the UK actually, that I really liked, and so I wanted to use. I was going to swap out um, Lloyd's quote uh, for something new, and then I realized that where is it here? Other countries. Yeah, this comes from the UK. She says, I haven't read any novels regarding the Civil War in America, and was amazed at the detail the author went into regarding the battles that were equally as brutal as those between England, France, and the Napoleonic Wars. So I used amazed at the detail the author went into regarding the battles as my new quote. But I realized that you can have up to 5, and then let AI decide which quote it wants to use. So I kept Lloyd's quote because it's great, and I added that one, and then I went digging through my my reviews, and just because I'm ornery, I picked a couple reviews that were not that were criticisms, But found I got two reviews. They were 3-star reviews where the person complained quite a bit. But within all their tearing me down, there was like one complimentary line, and so I extracted that line to be one of my quotes. So like this guy, um, here I'll hide his name because I'll keep it private. So this comes from the United Kingdom too. He says only the battle scenes are good. About the last book in the series first, as it was promoted as a standalone. As I mentioned in that review, there are so many characters with intertwining history, it's better to read them in sequence. The battle scenes are okay, but the characters are stereotyped and the language alternates between modern trash talk and Victorian amateur theater. There is also no need to enhance the sound of passing bullets or exploding bombs with the capital sound effects. Kapow, Batman. I applaud Mr. Engdahl for his meticulous research, but the main problem is that when you have to compete with Jeff Shera, Ralph Peters, James Nelson, Tom Wickles, Bernard Cornwell, and many other brilliant storytellers, you come last at the moment. Wow, that guy owned me. Okay, well, that's fine. So you didn't like it as well. At least I'm being mentioned with Jeff Shara and Bernard Cornwell. But I took this line here. I applaud Mr. Engdahl for his meticulous research, and I used that as one of the quotes in my advertising. And there's another one too. There's another 3-star review where the person uh, was not pleased. Um, Apparently, people don't like when you write out sound effects. So this one, a guy from Cape Cod, United States, leave the sound effects to the comic books. Set during the time period of the Civil War, Rampage on the River centers around Carl, a young man with a penchant for the duel, whose friendship is tested and forged within the flames of war. So far, so good. I liked it. I like this review. The book is a fast read and has a heavy dose of written sound effects: bang, boom, wheat, slap, tap, 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 whoomp, bam, crack. The sound effects become distracting, as did the modern slang dialogue mixed with the 19th century Victorian dialogue and slang. One example using the word cur to look, man, nothing happened. Your sister has a crush on me. First of all, I want to say, okay, I'm going to say, I'm not able to respond to this guy. Every bit of slang and language I looked up, and yes, they did use these terms back then. They did speak. This wasn't that long ago. Okay, so but of course, if you don't think they did, you can write this scathing review. But the truth is, they did use the word man, and they did use the word crush. So I beg to differ on this one, sir, Mister Cape Cod. The characters flipping back and forth between period and modern doesn't work within the historical frame, says you. There needs to be a rhythm to the dialogue, and many of the characters, Kyle, Klaus, not only sound the same, but there was very little distinction between them. I don't think that's true, but you tell me if you've read it. And you're like, yeah, he's right, Cody. Although it has an adventurous core, the pacing feels rushed. I kept hoping the story would simmer a bit and give more insight into the characters, layering them up and fleshing them out via emotion tidbits of backstory and sensory perception. Okay, then he gets nice. He goes, however, the writer hits the mark with the action sequence, minus the sound effects, can't let that go, and it was evident that even though he did a lot of research, he didn't do a research dump. He just did the right amount of detail to create a window into the past and bring those sections alive. This isn't easy to do, and he did it seamlessly. So this review, if you just took all this out, if you took out the middle where he bitches about the dialogue and the sound effects, it's a very nice review. Um, if you just took the part I highlighted, but I was like, okay, well, I can pull something from this. So um, So one of the quotes in the ads is, um, I think this is what I did. You want to keep it brief. So I used just the right amount of detail to create a window into the past. And maybe I went as further as and keep those sections live. Or maybe that's what it was. Just the right amount of detail to create a window into the past. So I thought it was kind of funny of like cherry picking quotes from bad reviews to use in my advertising. And then there's one other line I used. I can't remember which one it was, but um, and I think that's what I'm going to do every time I run ads. When this is over, I'll be running a promo on, I think Mexico My Love is next, and we'll be running 99 cents and 99 pence promos and ads as well. So anyway, if you're interested in reading Rampage on the River and you don't mind reading it on a Kindle, you can get it for 99 cents all the way up until next Friday. If you want a signed book from me, well, you can always send me a private message and we can work it out. Like I said, I charge the same amount of money as you pay on Amazon plus uh, plus shipping because I literally have to put it like in a bubble wrap and take it uh, to the post office and have them ship. My friend Mike, I hope you got his copy today, and my friend Ann, she got 2 copies as well. One for the rental that she owns because she keeps a copy of all my books in the rental for people who are staying there, and then one for herself. So if you want a signed copy from me, you can reach out to me and we'll work it out. Usually through PayPal or whatever, and I'll get it to you in the mail. Just usually within that day or the next day, unless I'm out of town. I'll be in South Haven next weekend. So if you're in the Memphis area, come see me. And thank you guys for hanging in there. Please give me a like, give me a subscription, leave a comment for me, and I'll answer it. And if you're an author and you want to come on, first of all, if you're an author and I'm just on and I haven't invited you and you're in the chat, let me know. And if you want to come on, I'll send you the link. I'm no longer going to put the link just in the chat because I had 2 guys come in who started saying things that would have gotten me thrown off of YouTube, and I had to take down that stream and then edit that part out. But if you got a book that you want to promote, come on. We'll talk about it. I'm happy to have you. Love you guys. If you got authors out there that you like, go on to Amazon and on Goodreads, give them 5 stars, give them a review. It really, really helps them. I don't know if Lloyd Elmore Jr. is still on here, but he's got a new book coming out called Malcolm's Bridge. He's got 2 books, 2 novels about Malinville. I read the first one, was good. He's got 2 collections of short stories. So I read the first one, it's good. And he's got some books that are memoirs. So anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Have a nice drink tonight, but be careful. All right. See you guys soon.